Well, good morning, good afternoon, or good evening, however this might find you. Welcome to Riffing on Main Street. I'm Ken Elmore, and I'm the proud president at Dean College. And I am here today riffing with Amy Adams, and we are just going to chat a little bit about who she is and who she is really. In the spirit of Howard Thurman, that's what we are all about here on Riffin on Main Street. So, Amy, thanks for joining us. So good to see you.
Thank you. Thank you for having me here today.
I always ask people to do this important thing, and that is tell us who you are without titles or anything like that, and we'll get more and more into who you are really.
Well, I'm a person that loves creativity. I love bringing people together. I love to uplift people. And so every opportunity that I have to do that, I take it.
So let me ask you this. How did you get to that place? What was it, that moment or those moments that made you say, this is what I do, this is who I am?
So I think I had probably the story of many, not a great upbringing. And to pull myself out of darker places, I decided that I need to be my own light. And in finding that, I felt like there are so many people that still have not found their own light, and how do we help them? And can I help you find your light? Or can I be your light until you find it? Can I help you find it? Mm-hmm. So I made that a goal.
So I would say you're a creative, you're a creator. Have you always been that way?
I have. It was a way to sort of find peace. One of my first creative things was I loved science growing up, and I would create this space. So I had a closet. I stacked up all my books in this closet. That was my secret laboratory.
All right.
I built a little lamp that I would keep in there with a battery and a small light bulb.
Okay.
And my light would be on. And so in that space is where I would secretly read my books and do all of the things in private and, my drawings and all of my secret things. But that was the start of creating and making things, where I always had to approach with what can I make to make this space better. So.
And did you do any classic training or schooling around your creative endeavors, or is this something that you've just always set aside for yourself and made space for yourself?
Great. So growing up, my dad was not supportive of me being an artist.
Neither was mine.
No, he was very, very hard on, you grow up with the want to get out of the environment that you're in, and you can only do that if you become a doctor or a lawyer or one of those. That's it.
Right.
And so this idea that I had to be this artist wasn't going to fly with my dad. So I focused all of my education and my studies around a medical background. So I actually do have some of a medical background. I've been an EMT. I've worked in several different areas of the hospital, in healthcare, and so I'm pretty well equipped. And because of that, I went to nursing school and started learning at how to look at people as a whole. And when that didn't really fit what I needed, then I started exploring other options. And so as a creative, I started merging that information to heal people as a whole with things that I was creating. So I started like a beauty line. And by beauty, I really just mean like a holistic with essential oils and how do I treat this ailment of yours.
Okay, yeah.
And that really just still didn't kind of do it for me. And I just started pursuing art more. And everything I know is self-taught. So many hours of research, little classes here and there.
Right.
But yeah, my educational background really started off with medical. So my degree is just really kind of based around wanting to be a nurse.
Wow. So I had this interesting thing, speaking of medicine. So I was a similar sort of situation. I wanted to major in art history, and my father made it clear that that was not going to be the case. And I ended up majoring in, I think, well, we'd probably call it neuroscience now. Then it was called physiological psychology. And medical school just wasn't my thing. But it's what I had to pursue. And part of why I said I'd go the medical route is because my auntie and my family being from places in South Carolina, they practiced something called root medicine. And it was about oils. It was about the signs that were around us. It was about collecting and putting things together and everything else. And I thought, I could do that. It's just that I couldn't learn that in school. I had to be able to learn with someone there. So I definitely get that draw there. Was there a cultural root or anything to your, healing and medical background and oils and those kinds of things?
Sure. So my grandmother was Puerto Rican. She came from Puerto Rico, and a lot of her roots were from Taino, and so she knew a lot of things that were just holistic treatment and involved leaves and plants and oils and just the things. And I remember growing up thinking, oh, in my house, I could not eat if I didn't learn to speak Spanish. So this is how she taught me to speak Spanish. And so as I grew older and I'm going to school and we're learning the Spanish language, I'm thinking, oh, Grandma didn't show me the right words. These are not the same. But as I got older, what I learned was that a lot of the words that she was using was the old traditional language of the Taino. So a lot of those words were just very instilled in our family and in our culture and in our blood. And it wasn't until I got older and she was gone that I then realized the jewel that we had. And so, yes, wanting to pursue the oils and the holistic part of healing was so important. And in a lot of ways, I feel like art still does that.
I was going to ask that.
And I absolutely feel like art is just a different way to heal people. So I use it to do that. I promote healing. I start conversations and try to bring people together. I love that community building part of it because I feel like that is the healing that we need. There is so much pain and hate in the world, and why do we need it? Why?
Yeah. Well, I've always had this thought that when the aliens come to take us away, they won't understand us because or at least they'll do the analysis and they'll say, these people were made of art. They were made of these concepts. They did so much to adorn their lives, their spaces, and their thinking around this thing we don't understand. See, and that's why I think that the robots will not take us over, because they don't understand that we're made of art as a basic. We're not made of these, our bodies contain beats. We have rhythms and cadences. We do these things where we have to feel certain ways and smell certain things and so on and so forth, and we create. When did you say, aha, it's about the art, and I am an artist? Do you call yourself an artist?
I do call myself an artist. It took a long time to do that.
There we go.
It took a long time to do that. The challenge of feeling like, well, I didn't go to school for this. And I meet a lot of people who will make me feel still, oh, you didn't go to school for this. Really? And, they kind of look down at you, but I have to kind of look inward and kind of chuckle. For me, that is just a reflection of their pain. And I feel like perhaps your pain is what's making you feel or say that. And only because you are not pursuing art now and you went to school for it. And you are not reaching out with your art. You are not connecting people. You are not using it to heal. Why? Where is that part of you that you started with? Where did it get lost? And a lot of me is really like, how can I help you find that?
Wow.
So
when did you know you were an artist?
I would say less than 10 years ago.
Really?
My mom had passed, and in that thrust of being pushed back into my roots, the oils, the herbs, the healing, I ran into doing more art publicly. I had a friend who was like, your art is so great, why don't you share it? And always, nah, it's not the kind of, but it was a little thing. We started off at a space, it was a gallery space in a community farm. And I just love working with really large canvases and spaces. And that's always been my thing, just not really having a place to do it. So before that, it was just kind of forced on little books and things. But when I had the reason, then the drive was absolutely right there. I'm going to paint on the biggest canvases I can find, and we're going to put it at this little gallery space. And I had an opening. And I was to have art there for November and then again in December, November through December. But what happened was my first opening was great. I sold out of the entire collection. Wow. And people were kind of walking out with these giant canvases. So immediately, 14 really large pieces. I had to immediately turn around and create 14 new pieces to replace that art, which I had no problem doing.
Right.
What I found was, this is so healing for me. These images that I'm putting up, these things that I'm sharing is not just for me. And that's really when I started to realize that my art was just coming to me so that I could share it. And it really was, yes, a form of healing for myself, but that also meant a form of healing for someone else.
Sure.
So I started seeing myself sort of as the conduit for the messages.
So do you see yourself as a certain type of artist, kind of artist, certain genre of art?
No, and that pretty much is the wonderful thing, I guess, about not being classically taught. I don't have a box. I sketch, I use charcoals, I love to paint with acrylics, I play around with oils and watercolors. I've created sculptures with concrete and cement and small things with clay. I mean, I've played with just about every medium. I've created sculptures with plexiglass and just anything, wood, everything that I could get my hands on. I see something in this, I'm gonna make it. And I do. Is it the best? Probably not, I don't know. But people love it, and usually it connects with someone, and I really just take that as, well, this was not for me. This was supposed to be for someone else. And that's it. Every piece that I create is someone's healing.
Right.
And so I'm not attached to the pieces because of that.
Is that right?
I feel like they came to me for somebody else, and I have to let it go.
Wow. Is it hard?
No.
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 You say that real quick.
No. A lot of times I can walk into a shop if I'm going to pick up blank canvases, and it's really amazing because I sew as well. So I make clothing, and one of the first things I wanted to do was be a seamstress, and my dad was like, "No, you can't be a fashion designer. Forget it. No fashion designer for you." So, but really where that started was I could look at a piece of fabric and see the skirt, the dress, but not just like a basic. I could see every stitch, every detail, every slit, every, everything, every seam, all of it. The same as with a canvas. So I can walk into the store and see these canvases, and no, not this one, but the one in the back, and they're all the same size.
Right.
But the image that I saw was on that last one there, so I have to get it and then create what it is. And that's not perfect either. Sometimes I will start an image and then I freeze. It's not what I saw at first, but then another image comes through for its completion. And it's crazy. I feel like perhaps this is the development. As artists, you hear a lot, trust the process, trust the process.
Yeah.
And
Whatever
I feel
that means.
that's true. It's just, it will start in one way, and sometimes it ends in a different way. But mostly, I have no problems creating on anything.
So here in good old Franklin, Massachusetts, you do a lot of work, or you work with a lot of people.
I do.
In spaces art. Talk to us a little bit about that.
So like I said, I love to community build. So a lot of times I am creating art that is going to heal. Each flower that you see on a mural has a specific message, has a specific purpose. The colors I choose have meaning. The placement of those things have meaning. I work with the schools, so I've been over at elementary and middle school working with students. We recently started the revival of the sculpture park. We were reevaluating the pieces that are there and thought, this is an installation that can be saved. Maybe we can get some students to, repaint them so that they have a facelift, and, let's not let that part of the sculpture park die. Let's keep something from the original sculpture park. And the idea was that we could get new students and then call it the Traveling School of Fish so that it could be maintained. It will go to a new elementary school every year. And this is a way to get kids involved in public art, and that desire for wanting to see public art and love where they live and contribute to where they live.
Yeah.
Right? And gain and draw that outlet, you know, be able to get their own healing from that outlet. We had a mental health day over at Remington, which is next door to Jefferson, and I went to see students from pretty much all the grade levels there, all throughout the junior high, and we were creating leaves that would then go on a bigger tree that's part of a mural that they got to keep. And the conversation there was about walking into spaces and the energy that you feel when you walk into those spaces. So if you walk into a room and everyone looks upset and angry, and you know, that might make you feel tense, a little fearful, a little, you know, insecure, or just not safe even, right? But if you walk into a space where everyone is smiling and happy and welcoming, and don't you feel that uplifting, and don't you feel that light, and don't you feel that love? And let's create this peace with whatever it is that we're feeling. So at the end of it, we will have, you know, this peace that creates love and shares love. And just the idea, you're only doing a leaf, and this is to remind you that you are this small piece of a much bigger thing that exists in the world, right? But you still have impact. This one leaf is going to make this tree look a different way. So
we got to do that with the adults. More of that with the adults.
Yeah, we had so I was artist in residence in 2021 to 2022 for Natick. And the first assignment for me, my job, my focus was to focus on social justice, equity. And I felt like we could not go into any of these topics without first discussing identity. And we had a great workshop. It was a 3-hour workshop where we got a crowd of adults to basically release some of these things that they had been holding. And then creating a beautiful set of artwork that we could share with the community after that. And it was just really moving and so powerful. So yes, I believe more of those would be really good for the community.
Art's what's going to save us.
It's healing. It's healing.
So I always like to end up by asking people what's bringing them joy right now. Or give me some give me some recommendations, things that maybe I want to see or listen to or hear or touch or feel or experience as well.
So you said you had studied neuroscience or neuropsychology at some point. So I don't know if that interests you at all, but I'm listening to, and I have to listen, right? Because I'm a multitasker here. I'm a mom, I've got a family, and I'm creating art, and I'm trying to get to the community. And so the way that I can take my books is I have my audiobooks.
That's all right. Don't apologize for that.
And no, I mean, I miss not being able to, you know, the crunching of the paper. I miss the smell of the new books.
Touch it.
It's bad. I buy the books and I have them, but I still have to do the audio. It's like an addiction. I still need to hold the books. But Your Brain on Art is what I'm listening to right now, and it talks about how the brain is receiving art and how people are using art as a form of healing. People with PTSD, and you know, one of the things that I love to do is bring awareness to all of these different topics with the use of art. And so I love that this book really talks about how people's neuroaesthetics are changing just simply with, you know, being able to enjoy pieces of art and taking those in. And then how that is changing who these people are. Even people with Alzheimer's, and just all different varieties of healing that needs to happen. So it's an interesting book.
Is that David Byrne who wrote that?
No, it's Ivy Ross.
Ivy Ross.
And Susan, I keep messing up her last name, but it's Maximin, I think.
Okay. Your Brain on Art.
Yeah.
All right. And joy, what's giving you just this wonderful sense of joy right now?
Being the light. I know that sounds crazy.
It's not crazy.
And do I really think that I am the light? I don't know. I know.
You
I
said
know.
being a light, right?
Right.
There you go.
Being a light, right.
Right.
But I picture myself as a person with a little lighter, right?
Uh-huh.
And when I'm in a dark room, that little lighter isn't quite enough to light up the room. But if I use my lighter to light the person next to me's candle, and maybe we get around this room,
Yeah.
and we have this smaller cluster,
Right.
that we can light the space, and then it'll be a floodlight, right? So I wonder if we can tackle changing people's thought processes and getting rid of pain in a different way by being a floodlight.
I love it.
So,
And that's what we need.
yes,
So-
I think so.
Amy, thanks for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
I'm here with Amy Adams, and I hope that you will be able to encounter her, because I think it's an encounter, not a meeting, not just a conversation, but an encounter. And we will be back with Riffing on Main Street. Thanks for joining us.
This program was made possible by your Franklin friends and neighbors, good folks just like you. Thanks for supporting Franklin TV. And thanks for watching.